My wife left a message. Don't bother me anymore. I need be free. I did as she said. I filed for divorce, closed our joint bank account, and went on vacation. A few days later, I found her standing outside my lawyer's office in tears. Her name is Emily, and it was the first time I had seen her since the note. I parked my car a little down the street and watched her through the tinted window, her head bowed, her hands twisting the strap of her purse, a nervous, hopeless gesture I recognized from our early years together when we'd argue over nothing for hours and then apologize in awkward silence. I didn't approach her immediately. Part of me wanted to see the raw reality of the decision she'd made, to understand what desperation had led to this moment. The granite lobby of Walter Donovan's office, the lawyer I called in the first panic after reading her note, reflected a kind of sterile calm, the type of calm that always unnerved me as a kid, like everything important had already been decided without you. When I walked in, Emily's eyes found me and the tears welled higher, the mascara streaking down her cheeks in long, angry lines, as if each streak was a silent accusation. She opened her mouth. I could hear the tremble in her voice before the words came out. "Jake, what is happening? Why did you—" I didn't answer. I simply raised an eyebrow and gestured toward the reception area, letting the receptionist acknowledge her presence. It wasn't cruelty, it was observation. In the 3 days since she left, I had processed every angle of what had happened. The note had been precise, chillingly so, the 4 sentences carefully constructed. I need to be on my own. This isn't working for me. I need freedom. Don't look for me. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't dramatic cry for attention. It was a clean slice of intention. I remember standing in the kitchen the first morning after she left, the scent of her last brewed coffee still lingering, the custom backsplash we had fought over for weeks glowing under the morning light, and realizing that the life we built together was now an empty stage. I called Donovan immediately, my voice steady, even calm, giving him all the facts, the note, the situation. Within hours, I had scheduled meetings, frozen accounts, and began untangling myself from what Emily clearly no longer wanted to be part of. My vacation was a mask, a necessary retreat, but in reality I spent the first day packing mental files, imagining every scenario that could play out once she returned, whether willingly or desperate. Hiking alone in the mountains gave me clarity. There was no anger, not the burning kind that poisons decisions, just methodical, sharp clarity that made me feel almost ruthless in its precision. Every text she sent over those 3 days, increasingly frantic, increasingly panicked, I read once and then put my phone aside. The flicker I felt was not guilt, but recognition, a small confirmation that the note, the departure, had landed exactly as she wrote it. By Monday morning, I returned to the city with clean, strong thoughts, dressed in a suit that made me feel like myself again. Not like the ghost of the man who had waited silently in the kitchen staring at a note that said he wasn't wanted. When I arrived at Donovan's office, she was there, slouched on the low brick wall outside, looking fragile, untended, the curated freedom she had showcased on social media 2 days prior completely gone. I stepped out of the car slowly, assessing, and she noticed me immediately, springing to her feet like a startled animal. "Jake, what is going on? Why are you here?" Her voice broke, fragile and accusing. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She saw the calm in my posture, the quiet determination in my eyes, and for the first time, I think, recognized the consequences of what she had set in motion. The moment crystallized when she demanded, "Your account, Jake, the money, we need to talk about this." I adjusted my tie, looked at her evenly. "A security breach," I said, almost mechanically. "Our finances have been compromised." Her face twisted, confusion, frustration, disbelief, all at once. "This isn't funny," she hissed, the tears starting again. "This is our life." I felt nothing but the cool logic of the plan I had executed, the sequence of actions I had taken to protect myself. Our life, I repeated calmly, was never ours a whole when one party decided to leave without warning. She faltered, her voice rising in desperation. "Jake, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we can fix it." I watched the words, observed the timing, and took a small step toward the office. She followed, stumbling slightly, grabbing my arm in a fleeting plea. I stopped, looked down at her hand, and let her go. The lesson had been learned. Freedom is not a bargaining chip. It is a consequence of choice. The office door closed with a soft, authoritative click behind me, and the sound of her sobbing reverberated in the small courtyard outside. Days passed, a week of blessed silence punctuated by an unknown number leaving a message, a man's voice smooth, confident, hinting at rational dialogue, man-to-man negotiation. Kyle. I knew the name. I did not respond. I forwarded the voicemail to Donovan. Soon after, they arrive at the door, Emily flanked by Kyle, his hand familiar on her lower back, smug, entitled. The door stayed locked. The chain held firm. Words were exchanged, threats barely veiled, and I closed the door on them. The quiet afterward was intense. I sat at my old shared computer, something I had never had cause to scrutinize before, browsing history, private messages, hotel bookings, conversations dating back 6 months, evidence of planning, betrayal, and the casual cruelty of an elaborate departure. Screenshots, thumb drives labeled leverage, forwarded to Donovan. The grief I carried sharpened, became fuel. Over the following month, bureaucratic precision guided me. Landlord notified, leases updated, joint accounts frozen, every legal boundary secured. Emily called hysterical, demanding money. Legal counsel responded. Her attempt evaporated into formality. Slowly, life stabilized. News of our split traveled. Mutual friends, colleagues, whisper conjecture, social math. Kyle's own life unraveling. The illusion of freedom Emily sought now apparent in its cost. Financially dependent, socially exposed, their public performance of happiness collapsed. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Quiet, brutal negotiations by capable counsel. Walter Donovan earning every cent settlement favored responsibility over desire, action over abandonment. Emily kept personal items. A car, small court-ordered funds. The house, purchased solo, represented the culmination of deliberate preparation and measured execution. Months later, even the Spotify account, a trivial tether of shared past, severed. Small clicks, small final locks. Indifference replaced pain. Home felt like home. The kitchen painted deep calming blue. The armchair replaced by a bookshelf of books I had longed to read. The memory of the note a ghost I acknowledged, not feared. Emily and Kyle exist now in their cramped apartment, burdened by consequences, their work environment tense, social media carefully curated yet hollow. I watch occasionally, confirmation of the path chosen. No hate, only clarity. The life I built after departure is methodical, considered, shaped by the discipline of moving past chaos rather than participating in it. Some nights, I feel the echo of the pain, a memory of man in a silent kitchen, staring at a 4-sentence note. It fuels patience, understanding, measure action. The door to that stage is closed. The house, the life, the clarity, all mine now, untouched by chaos, structured by resolve. The ghost of betrayal is present only to remind me of boundaries and consequence. Every morning I wake, I see the kitchen, the counter, the note tucked away in a drawer long since forgotten, and remember not her departure but my response, deliberate, 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 and the life I have built as a result. I sometimes imagine what it would be like to confront her with the reality of her choices, to show her the meticulous order I restored, the calm that replaced panic, the freedom that comes not from flight, but from facing consequences. But I resist the urge. There is no satisfaction in that. Only the cold, enduring knowledge that the past is settled, the present controlled, and the future deliberate. I look at the bookshelf, at the deep blue walls, at the morning light cutting to the blinds, and feel the quiet hum of life that has been earned, not inherited, and know that peace, finally, is not a gift. It is a result of action, patience, and the wisdom to let chaos pass by while I walk steadily forward. The echoes of Emily's note, the tremble in her voice, Kyle's entitled smirk, even the initial sting of betrayal, all now exist only as markers, reminders, lessons etched into the rhythm of daily life. Fueling deliberate choices that build resilience, stability, and calm, reminding me that the power of response far outweighs the impulse of reaction, and that in the quiet after the storm, life can be reclaimed, reshaped, and refined into something enduring, something truly mine, something that carries the weight of loss but also the clarity of freedom, the discipline of foresight, and the unshakable peace of a path carefully chosen. I think back to the small, intimate moments of our early marriage, the laughter over burnt pancakes, the first apartment we moved into, the midnight drives to nowhere. I remember her smile, the curve of her mouth when she teased me about my obsession with order, how she would hide my socks just to watch me react. Those moments feel like a lifetime ago, irrelevant now, but not forgotten. They remind me that love is fragile, that even joy can be a prelude to heartbreak, and that the ability to move forward is born from both sorrow and insight. I spend evenings writing, journaling the details of my day, cataloging thoughts, analyzing emotional patterns, and reflecting on the decisions that led to my current state. Each entry feels like a brick in the wall that separates the chaos of the past from the stability of the present. Friends have reached out, some cautiously, some curiously. Their conversations revolve around empathy, support, and shared disbelief. Some ask why I never reconciled, why I let her leave and face the consequences, and I explain calmly, each word measured, each pause deliberate, because understanding, not vindication, is what matters. I occasionally drive past the neighborhood we once lived in, seeing her window curtained differently, the porch empty or cluttered, reminds me that life continues for everyone, and that attachment is a choice, not an inevitability. I have learned the power of detachment, the clarity it brings, and the freedom that comes from prioritizing self-preservation over nostalgia. Nights are still hard sometimes. Dreams of confrontations, of shouting matches, of doors slammed and words hurled echo in the quiet of my bedroom. But when I wake, I feel the steadiness of experience, the weight of choices made, and the slow, deliberate peace that comes from knowing I acted with integrity, not reaction. Even mundane routines feel like victories. Making coffee without argument, tending to my garden, walking through city streets without fear or expectation, noticing details I once ignored because my focus was always split. I write letters to no one, detailing thoughts about forgiveness, consequence, and psychology of betrayal, keeping them tucked away, a private archive of understanding. Emily and Kyle's life occasionally crosses my path online. Photos, check-ins, fleeting posts. My reaction is muted. I feel no joy, no vindictive thrill, only acknowledgement, a quiet recognition that they are navigating the consequences of choices, as I did, as we all must. Each morning, I open the blinds fully, letting sunlight flood the apartment, feeling warmth not as comfort, but as affirmation that light persists even after the longest dark. I feel my muscles relax, my mind settle, and the chaos of past months reduced to a narrative I understand fully, controlled by the rhythm of my own actions. I take walks in park, recalling how Emily and I once strolled together, how laughter once bridged gaps between us. Now, I walk alone, the silence teaching me introspection, self-reliance, and the ability to enjoy company without needing validation. Each book I read, each note I write, each task completed is a testament to resilience. Life is no longer dictated by fear of abandonment or betrayal, but by intention, method, and reflection. The past exists as history, Emily exists as memory, and I exist as the sum of all choices, deliberate and considered. I have learned that freedom is not taken. It is carefully preserved. The echoes of pain serve only to instruct, not to control, and I am free to build, day by day, a life defined by clarity, patience, and the quiet triumph of deliberate living. The note she left, now tucked in a drawer, never resurfacing, serves as a reminder that clarity comes at a cost, that peace is deliberate, and that the life I have chosen is both a reward and a discipline, carrying the lessons of the past into every sunrise and every deliberate breath of the future, a life that is finally, irrevocably mine.